we're going to see this project through to completion. And we're committed to that. Our commission is committed to that, and we want to reassure the region that that is going to be our focus moving forward.
Focus moving forward. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Pat Simon. Those were the words of assurance from the executive director of TxDOT today. This amid concerns over the safety of the design of the new Harbor Bridge project. And today, TxDOT officials held a news conference. A lot of new information coming out of there. The headline, TxDOT issues a notice of default to Flatiron Dragados, the developer of the new Harbor Bridge project. Essentially, the company has 2 weeks to respond to safety concerns TxDOT has over the design of the new bridge. This comes just a couple of days after the state received the findings of an independent inspection. The state says they have tried numerous times to get some answers from Flatiron Dragados. They are still waiting.
Despite numerous meetings between TxDOT, the Flatiron Dragados team, and IBT, Flatiron Dragados has refused to acknowledge the safety issues that have been identified or to take any steps to correct them. This is unacceptable and places TxDOT in the unfortunate position today of having to provide Flatiron Dragados with a notice of default.
So tonight, Flatiron Dragados is on the clock. The state says if the company fails to address deficiencies in this time frame, TxDOT will issue a formal default and replace that contractor on the project. We did reach out to Flatiron Dragados for a comment. They said they cannot comment now. They are still working with TxDOT, and they do plan to fulfill the obligations, they told us. As for those safety concerns that were highlighted in that independent inspection, well, according to Sistra International Bridge Technologies, the firm that conducted the inspection, there were several areas that raised alarms. They included inadequate capacity of the pylon drilled shafts, deficient pile caps that would lead the bridge to collapse under certain load conditions, design defects in the delta frame. That's the framing that supports the bridge from underneath. Also included in the concerns, excessive what's called torsion or other stresses related to placement of a crane or cranes during construction. Getting back to those drilled shafts for a moment, or the foundation elements, if you will. The new bridge has 40 of them in place. According to the report, 30 of those drilled shafts failed during a test that simulated hurricane force winds. Chief Meteorologist Dale Nelson joins us right now. You're a man that knows a thing or two about the devastating impact of hurricane force winds, Dale. You got more on what hurricane force winds can do to structures like the new Harbor Bridge, don't you?
That's right, and everything Pat just said there, based on the study and the results and all that, if we were to get a hurricane on that new Harbor Bridge going up, it could fall down. That's the bottom line. And as we take a look at the energy from the ocean that's transformed into the storm, the hurricane force winds, well, when it's approaching, especially if it's coming straight on like Celia did in 1970, and it's moving in this direction towards the coast, the right front quadrant, if we happen to be in it, well, you folks in Rockport and Port Aransas know all about that with Harvey, but the winds are coming from the west, all right? Check that, they're coming from the east, and then after the storm goes by, the winds switch to the west, and so it gives an effect of taking and doing this to a structure, and that can weaken it considerably. And also, when you're dealing with a hurricane or when you're dealing with wind, when you double the wind speed, you quadruple the force. So an 80-mile-an-hour hurricane has a lot less force than a 160-mile-an-hour hurricane. We've seen a lot of big hurricanes here in the past. It could happen again, and again, it's because of this wind feature that goes along and is synonymous with hurricane activity. Right now, the tropics are pretty quiet. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Pat?
Dale, thanks so much. Beyond the safety concerns that were brought up today at the news conference, there are a lot of other questions that surround the future of the new Harbor Bridge project. We did ask some questions like added cost and what would bringing on a new developer mean for the ultimate completion of that project. Our Iran Hammy has some answers for us tonight. He joins us from the construction site of the new Harbor Bridge. Iran?
That's right, Pat. You touched on it. When you hear that the new Harbor Bridge construction has stopped, things must be running through your mind like, will this ever get done? How much is this going to cost taxpayers? And how long will the current Harbor Bridge last? Well, we have answers, but now we have a lot more questions.
So moving ahead, Safety remains the top priority with TxDOT, and we will not compromise on that with the Harbor Bridge project.
Executive Director Mark Williams says first, TxDOT has to wait for contractor Flatiron Dragados to respond in the 15-day window. TxDOT won't search for a new developer until after that point.
We felt like there was ample opportunity for Flatiron to have addressed these issues through the construction process, and we believe that there are remedies that can be undertaken even now.
The good news? Williams confirms that no runover costs will fall back on Corpus Christi. $774 million of the $930 million budget has been spent. Any additional costs will come from the state. And now TxDOT has work, because not only is the public frustrated, TxDOT is as well.
It has been hugely disappointing, and it is disappointing to be here, and I know it's disappointing for the people in the region. The people have to see it every day, the people on the North Shore that have to live through some of the construction.
TxDOT will focus on making people feel safe for when the bridge is completed.
This is why we're here today, is to emphasize that important point of how critical safety is for us. And we're going to continue as we go through to talk about the design and the work on this bridge as we get it corrected.
That is what we do know. We might learn some more if we find out that Flatiron Dragados has responded, or even if they don't respond. Then we might know some answers on how long the project needs to be pushed back, how much is it going to cost the state, and do we need design changes? Will there be traffic pattern changes? All that hopefully coming up here in the coming weeks. Reporting live in Corpus Christi, Iran Hammy, Chris 6 News.
Iran, thanks so much. Yeah, the clock is ticking starting today. Well, with so much uncertainty around the new bridge, attention now turns to the current Harbor Bridge. It's been around since 1959, and it looks like it's going to be around a little longer, right? So what is TxDOT doing to make sure that structure stays up to date?
Inspections on that existing harbor bridge have not stopped since the beginning of this construction project. So as long as that bridge is in service, which means it'll take direct traffic, we will continue our inspections that are done periodically, pretty much yearly.
A maintenance project is also planned for this fall on the current Harbor Bridge. TxDOT is currently taking bids on it. That project could start right before the end of the year. And we learned late this evening that tomorrow at noon, a news conference will be held at City Hall featuring city, county, and state leaders talking about today's developments with TxDOT and the new Harbor Bridge. To keep up with all the latest developments in this unfolding story, follow us on social media or go to KrisTV.com.